Happy Tuesday, family. Let me kick off tonight by asking you this question. The last time you were maybe had an illness, let's say, whether that was due to an injury, maybe you injured your foot, hand, shoulder, or you had a common cold. The last time that you encountered that, describe to me your communication style during that period. In the height of your illness, ailment, injury, what was your communication style like? And I want you to answer that in the comments and answer honestly. Answer honestly. And we're going to kick off or jump into how our physical well being impacts our communication style right after the intro. Mm-mm-mm. Hi, I was jamming to the intro. I'm Linnita Hosten, and I have the honor, I would say, and the privilege to work with emerging leaders to help them develop the mindset and the skill set to become better communicators at home, at work, and with themselves so that they can have more impact and influence in their life. Now, you might be asking me, why am I talking about this today? And I want to make this very clear. There are some things in our lives that are interdependent, meaning they have a mutual reliance. While I can come and teach, empower, explain communication skills, it does me no justice if I never make the connection between who you are as a whole being and how that impacts how you communicate. So that is why we are doing a holistic communication series for the month of October. It's to generate awareness around how your mental, social, physical, emotional, how they're all interdependent and they have a mutual reliance in order for you to be the best version of yourself. When you are at the best version of yourself, you're going to communicate the best version of yourself. And I jumped ahead of myself, but I wanted to start by saying this. If you were looking for ways for us to work together, maybe you're in the midst of the series and you're enjoying it, or you're feeling some conviction, maybe some light bulb moments, maybe you're interested in coaching on your holistic communication style, what that looks like, how you develop it. Maybe you're interested in coaching sessions. We do offer that. Maybe you're interested in me coming to speak to an organization. So it's not just you, but you have a team of individuals who you'd like this information to be transferred to. And then finally, if you oversee a partnership or initiative where you are grooming a group of talent, meaning a group of people, developing their leadership skills and communication skills, I would love for you to consider me as someone that you would bring in to help with your group. In fact, I will say this. I think I mentioned this last week that we did sign a contract with the organization in Michigan to come out and do some development with their 35 leaders who are a combination of senior, frontline leadership, and rising leaders. They were looking to increase the collaboration and morale at their organization. And they found me on Google. So we praise God for the Google and the search engine. So I'll let you know how that goes. Before we also jump into today's content, I have to shout out the fact that we have officially reached 1,000 plus, because we're over the 1,000 hump, 1,000 plus subscribers on YouTube, which is a huge success. If I had sound effects, I would say, yay! YouTube is the hardest platform to grow. It also requires the continual output of content to grow the channel. And so if you are subscribed to the channel, which I hope that you are, you will have seen that we release at least one short video a day, sometimes two. And if you know what I know, you know that that's a lot of effort. And so we're excited about reaching that status and continuing to reach it, continuing to grow the YouTube channel. If you're watching live, let me know where you're watching from. You can type it in the comments. I'm watching from. Drop that in the comments. If you happen to catch the replay, just type in hashtag replay so I can know where you're coming from, and that you're watching, and give you credit that you're here. That you're here. Okay, so we've so far in this series we've covered emotional and mental well-being and its impact on our communication style. Tonight we're going to talk about your physical well-being and how it impacts your communication style. I know I don't have to say this because you already know that your physical well-being is directly correlated to your emotional, social, and your verbal ability. You know that already. And I also probably do not have to tell you that when you are not physically well due to lack of sleep, that's a big one. Illness is a big one. Poor nutrition. When any of those things you are not struggling with, but maybe challenged by, you will have a direct correlation to not only the words that you use, the tone that you have, your body language will be impacted, your facial you get where I'm going with this. So your physical wellness, I would say, is important. We say this all the time, get good quality rest so you can be your best self. And I always, when I hear things like that, I'm like, why? Well, scientifically, cognitively, you won't have the ability to focus, meaning be present. Being present means having active listening skills. Um, so you'll struggle with maintaining focus. You'll also struggle with memory. So if you're listening to a conversation trying to follow something, or you're in a learning environment trying to learn and digest what is being taught to you, it's going to be really hard if you're sleep deprived. We call that brain fog. So that's a direct correlation between how you're actually showing up in an environment, which is communication non-verbally. There's a direct correlation between your physical well-being and then also your communication style. Now, communication is a process of simply encoding and decoding. And you're either coding the communication, meaning you are verbalizing it, or you're decoding it, you're receiving it. People are decoding our nonverbal communication much more than they're decoding our verbal. So if you're saying something, people are looking at everything but your words. I won't say but. I would say they're looking at everything plus your words. And so your ability to be present, to make eye contact, to manage your facial expressions, to follow in the conversation, to have healthy body language, those things are contingent upon your physical health. You get what I'm saying? You gotta be well. You got to be well. It reminds me of how schools provide breakfast so that children who may not have meals at home, that their learning is not impacted by their lack of nutrition, by their lack of access to food. Same thing with lunch, which is why there's a free and reduced lunch program, because there's a direct correlation between a person's access to food and their cognitive abilities. Cognitive just meaning mental, how you learn. And so your physical wellness matters. So all of my, I'm doing overtime. I'm going to thug it out. I'm going to sleep later. Sleep is for suckers. Sleep is for winners. Let me tell you, I am not, you don't want the version of me that's sleep deprived. I can tell you right now, you don't want her. She she don't care about your whole being. She isn't as sharp, not as fluid in conversation. It's hard for me to focus when I'm sleep deprived. And I mentioned this last week about how when you begin to generate awareness about your whole well-being and how it intersects with so many things, you'll begin to create stronger boundaries in the areas that make you a better being. So that's why I don't play about my sleep. About 9:30, my bonnet going on. And so what do you have to do to ensure your physical wellness? Maybe it's not sleep for you. Maybe it's physical movement. Exercise is a great outlet if you work in a high stress environment, or you have a high demand family or a high demanding job. So the movement of your body might be critical for you. And maybe it's not the gym. Maybe you sign up for a Pilates class or yoga. You do hot yoga or you do kickboxing. You sign up for aerobics, water aerobics. You can even do recreational sports. You can even do like a dance class, a pole dancing class. It doesn't matter what you're doing. What matters is that you're physically moving your body. You're getting that stress relief, which comes from that release of a what they call a happy hormone, those secretions released into your brain when you're doing physical activity, which is why it's a stress reduction outlet. So when we think about our physical well-being, I want us to think about it also from the frame of like rest. Do you know how many hours of sleep you need to be your most optimal version of self? For me, I need about at minimum 7.5 hours, 7.5, 8 hours, I'm good. What is that number for you? When I don't get my full rest, I am not the most optimal. I'm typically also a bit more delayed in like my ability to like manage my tasks, stay on task, and my enthusiasm for completing the task. They are all impacted by my ability of or by my state of rest. So the rest that I observe. And the quality of your rest matters too. So if you're having interrupted sleep or your sleep is broken up because maybe you have an active bladder or you have a young child, then that impacts your rest. So I would challenge you to think about how can you make up for that time that you might have lost. But the state of your ability to rest is going to affect the energy that you have to communicate with others throughout the day. In addition to your rest, there's also your confidence. Your physical wellness is highly connected to your confidence. Now, I want to put it this way. When you are, let's say, when you are confident in how you feel, that comes out in projection by your body language, your posture, your tone. You're making eye contact. You know, when you have a level of like a strong, healthy feeling about self, people feel that. They feel it too when we're not well. And usually when we're not well, we're not thinking about projecting our best self. Our mind is on regaining our sense of well-being. Getting our whatever healthy looks like to you, restoring that. And so your confidence is important when you're communicating because it impacts how do I put this? It impacts your ability to influence others. So when we are assertive, firm, and conveying that in a confident way, it's infectious. If you think about how you're motivated, it's typically not by a person who lacks confidence. You're motivated by someone who stands in front of you boldly. And when you're listening to them, the hairs may stand up on your arm. You feel such a connection to what they're saying. You believe it. You're invested in it. And we call that someone whom is communicating in a way that's influencing you. It's hard to do that if you are displaying a lack of confidence because of your physical well-being. So I wanted to leave you with 3 things that I think could help you begin to restore your physical well-being. If you have questions, definitely ask them. I don't see any, but also I will say the platform that I use sometimes doesn't allow me to see comments from LinkedIn. Still working on that. So I'll have to go back at the end of the podcast to acknowledge you. If you're watching, thank you. And I love you too. But three ways to support your physical well-being as it impacts your communication style. These are not mind-blowing things, but these are things that help me. First one, I don't eat everything. I want to eat everything, but I choose not to eat everything. Are you familiar with superfoods? They're high in nutrients. And they come in different kinds. Some of it is fruit, some of it is a vegetable, a green leafy vegetable. Sometimes it's just the avocado. Sometimes it's a protein. Eating more of those, eating less of breads, refined sugars. I'm telling you this, and it sounds like something that, okay, I could Google that, but these are actually practices that I have. Because when I eat lots of bread, like toast, hoagies, sandwiches, um, quesadillas, bagels, cookies, it makes me sluggish. And if I'm sluggish, being productive is counterproductive. It's counterproductive to how I physically feel. I feel like I want to relax on the couch. I feel like that when I consume heavy carbs. So I'm mindful about my food selections. So kava is my best friend. I love kava. I also do a Chipotle with no rice. If I have a week of high product, like I have like multiple deadlines in a week, I'm certainly not eating carbs because I'm eating for fuel, not just for satisfaction. What I normally do at the end of the week is I would reward myself that hoagie or that pizza because I've already accomplished the task. It's more so like, okay, here you go. Then that kind of gives me like, that satisfying feeling that you get on Thanksgiving when you ate everything. But when I have to be task oriented, I don't eat that way. So maybe that's something you'll consider. Introducing more leafy vegetables like kale, arugula, spinach. Finding a way to incorporate them into your diet, whether that be a smoothie, sauteed vegetables, veggie wraps, veggie tacos. Also, finding a way to get your caffeine fix without it being coffee. You're talking to someone who Starbucks was their first job. I love coffee. And for the last 3 days, I've not drank it. What I have done instead in the morning, I've taken vitamins, B12, iron, and vitamin D, and I drink tea, and I still feel energized. I'm talking to you with organic energy, and it's 8 p.m. Eastern time. I've worked the whole day, and then I come and do this podcast. I didn't drink any coffee, any energy drinks. This is a natural energy that you can get from other things. So what are some alternatives to coffee that you can consume? I'll give you one of my favorites is matcha. Now, I will admit, it's not a taste that people commonly like. It tastes kind of earthy, but you can get different flavors. But that's just one. Flavored green tea is another. Vitamins are a great source. But I really challenge you to think about healthy alternatives to caffeine. And here's the last thing I'll share. Just something that could help you with your physical well-being is joining some creative challenges. Like, can you sign up for a 30-day Move Your Body challenge where you have to log on to, I don't know, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and be accountable to what's happening that week. So if it's 5 miles a day or 15,000 steps a day, you have a accountability community in a fun, gamified way to move your body physically. The older we get, the less time we really have to do these kinds of things that make us well. And to be honest, the less energy and motivation we have too, because our priorities are compounded with other obligations. There's less time. We have to make time for these things to occur. When I talk to healthy people, they make time for their physical well-being. It's not convenient. Some of them are waking up at 5 a.m. I have a friend, he's approaching 60. He's in the keynote business, travels all over the country. He has a routine where he runs for an hour every morning, and then he starts his day. And it's so interesting. Sometimes we have these routines out of as a reaction to some type of health scare, or someone close to us had a health scare, so it's a wake-up call. What I'm saying is, let's not wait for the scare. Let your physical well-being be enough to get you up in the morning and physically moving, whatever that looks like. And I'm doing it too. Another thing you can do is download the Peloton app. You don't have to have the equipment to get the physical benefits of their classes. They have all kinds of classes on the Peloton app. I think it's like $9.99 a month. And they're in like 6 different languages, different kinds of workouts, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, no excuses. I think you can make time to move your body for 10 minutes in your home. What? 10 minutes in your home. Your physical well-being is connected to your your ability to show up your best self. Not just how you look physically, but in the inside, how you feel. Is that important to you? If your answer is yes, and I hope that it is, what are we doing? What are we doing to increase that physical well-being? When you physically feel well, to be honest, I think, and I mentioned this when I first kicked off this series, out of all of them, physical wellness is my highest driver. When I'm physically well, it's the best version of me. Because when I'm physically well, I can feel my emotional tank. I can feel my mental tank. I can feel my spiritual tank. I have the energy to do that. I can feel all of those tanks. But when I am physically not well, it's hard to even think about those other areas. I don't have an interest in reading my Bible. And it's so funny, the Bible says, for those of you who are persons of faith, let your body be a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable, and pleasing unto God. Let your body be a living sacrifice. And if we are being asked for our physical, your body is also a combination of your soul and your spirit. And so we have, I wouldn't say a mandate, but a charge by God to for our whole self to be in sacrifice to Him. If that's not enough to get up and move the body so we feel physically well, so that we can be socially present, so that we can be spiritually fed and spiritually give to others, if that's not enough, I don't know what else to tell you. I hope that it is. I hope that it is. What's your biggest takeaway from today? I see we're at the 23-minute mark. What's your biggest takeaway from today? I want you to drop that in the comments. And also, what are you going to work on? When last year, I don't know if I told you guys this story, but last year around this time exactly on the 13th of October, two of my friends who share in a similar business as they reached out and said, hey, let's do a mini mastermind. We'll go to Florida for a few days. I didn't care how much it was going to cost for me to get there. I was going because I was in such a funk. I was glued to my bed, so it felt like zero energy. I only wanted to consume sweet things, crunchy things, salty things, which, by the way, are all indicators. Each of them, the type of things you crave, is attached to an emotional thing. Sometimes salty foods are attached to stress. Sweet foods are attached. They have an association, by the way. Didn't know that, but just so you know. I was craving all of those things and eating them. I was not mindfully eating. My productivity was so low, I could barely get through my workday. I was struggling. When they called and said, hey, we're going to do this thing, I said, I'm coming. I didn't even look at how much it was going to cost to get to where we were going, how much the cost for the Airbnb. It did not matter because I knew if I could just get in the environment, I could reignite like my energy, and that could give me enough juice to finish the year strong. Well, what I learned when I got with that group of people, and it did get me those things, I mentioned to them that I was struggling. And the first question that one of them asked me was, what's your exercise routine? You gotta move. You gotta move your body. And ever since then, I think that is when I downloaded the Peloton app. So I've been with Peloton a whole year. And I have found, I don't always do a high intensity. Sometimes it's a really powerful stretch or a really long stretch. Sometimes it's a yoga. Sometimes it's just not stretching, not yoga, but like a breathing exercise. Sometimes it's mindful meditation. It's the movement. It's a part of my daily routine because my physical well being affects every other area. I got to do that. So this year in October, in September, I said, okay, last year when the seasons began to change, I really struggled. What are some of the things that I can do to make sure I don't find myself in that fog again? I was talking to someone about it. They mentioned vitamins. What I do, I went and signed up for vitamins. They came. It's a subscription that I have. I've been taking them every day. I feel amazing. And I'm saying that genuinely, just I feel very physically well. That's intentional. So, what are you going to do to be intentional about your physical wellness so that your whole self can show up and be effective in a space? And if you're asking, for those who just happen to might have catch this in the middle, what does all of this have to do with communication? Oh, it has a lot to do with it. When you're physically well, you're going to take the time to be rational, objective. Your enthusiasm and passion will be infectious. When you're physically well, um, you are outreaching to people to connect with them, not avoiding them. When you're physically well, you handle conflict better. When you're physically well, you have maybe more of an appetite to empower, encourage, check in on other people. There are a lot of compounding effects on your physical well being. I hope that this series helped to highlight that and that you're looking for practical ways to work on your physical well being. And I'm rooting for you. Before we close out, I just want to remind you 3 ways we can work together. I can coach you. If you want to be coached, you want someone to hold you accountable, get to your holistic goals, happy to do that. Also, you can bring me in to speak at your organization. We talked about something today that you say, okay, my team needs to hear this because this is an area that we can grow in as a staff. That's an option too. And then finally, if you lead or oversee some type of programming initiative where you're looking for talent to come in and facilitate on leadership development, communication skills, conflict resolution, all of those things, happy to do so. You can go to vocalvalue.com. You can shoot me a DM. I'm on every platform and I'm not hard to find. We're also very responsive and welcome the opportunities to partner with you or your leaders so that they do have the mindset and the skill set to be better communicators. When I say the mindset of being a better communicator, I mean associating your communication skills with the type of leader that you want to be. When you think about your role as a leader, you're thinking about how you verbally communicate and its impact on the people that you lead. That's a mindset. And then the skill set is the how. How do I do that? What's the um not only the science but the art in communicating to impact and influence. So just wanted to break that down because I say that, we help leaders with the mindset and skill set, but I've never really told you how. And today we kind of talk, this is related to the mindset. And if you find some practical outways, you'll be out some practical ways to work on your physical wellness, then that's adding to your skill set of being a powerful communicator. All right. I enjoyed you guys. This episode, I enjoyed this one. I didn't think that I would, but I enjoyed it. Some of these concepts are not sexy to talk about, but they are relevant and necessary for us as we're growing in the leadership of ourselves first, and then our environments and those that we have the opportunity to impact and work with. So we're going to close out with that for today. We'll pick back up next week. I believe social well-being is next. And I can't wait to talk about that because what we're going to be talking about likely is boundaries and identifying those healthy social circles. And if that resonates with you, come back with us next week. So we'll be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you watched this episode and you found it to be valuable, share it with someone who could benefit from this information. I love you. There is absolutely nothing you can do about it. I'll see you next Tuesday at 8 p.m.